Evening, everybody, and welcome to what is a milestone episode with myself, Adrian Finnan, and Noel O'Connor for the Soccer Scene 30th episode of the season. Noel, I can feel the night coming in around me, albeit we are about an hour later than usual recording. But we're at the business end of the Soccer Scene podcast, which also means we're in terms of and winter coming in, and we're at the business end of the Electricity League season. That's a sign of it, anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. You certainly see it today.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously, as I said, a milestone for ourselves. Time flies when you're having fun, not.
Oh, look, it's been interesting enough season, and at least there's still an awful lot to play for, like with the few games that are left, because often it will be petering out. It certainly isn't petering out this season.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks to a 1-0 victory over Cobh Ramblers for Treaty United, it certainly isn't petering out anything but, Noel, considering the result in Wexford. Wexford, in fairness to them, as Tommy Barrett alluded to, showed great character. They were 2-0 down against Waterford, came back and got a 2-2 draw, but still Treaty pulled 2 extra points clear of them, which is 6 points now after that win against Cobh. So it was a crucial night in the playoff race.
I think it was, and it really, makes it a lot more difficult now for Wexford to pass them out. There's 6 points, six clear points, and look, we are talking about that last game all the time. The last game in the Marcus Field, and if it is still alive, it'll be a right game. And the next couple of games, it could swing. If there's one more week, if you like, that it goes in favour of Treaty, where Treaty pick up 3 and maybe Waterford or Wexford drop another couple of points, I think that they're certainly home and hosed. But you do have to credit Wexford. It just shows you what a difficult league it is, because they've had some really good results, and yet they still find themselves 6 points outside that playoff place. So certainly that top 5, which we said at the start of the season would be in around that 5, it's very difficult to break into that.
Yeah, it certainly was the case. The game wasn't one for the ages, Noel, it's fair to say, against Cobh Ramblers. On Friday night, you had the wet surface, the slick surface that came with the rain because of the ground being rock solid as well. I suppose the water had very little place to go, but it was a real moment of quality, Noel, that won the game, to be fair, for Treaty. Some good interplay, and Ben O'Riordan overlapping and providing a very good pass for Enda Kern, who finished superbly.
Yeah, just Joe, look, in fairness, what a player Enda Kern is, particularly what a finisher he is. He's certainly he's up there with the best in the country, I'd say, in either divisions. Sometimes he can be a bit infuriating to watch in terms of, his body language being poor, or maybe not doing the amount of work that, you probably like your team to be doing. But certainly when it comes to that, moment of magic or that chance that comes his way, he's absolutely lethal. And it's no surprise, that he has played in the Premier League, and there's always maybe a few clubs that are looking for his signature, because goals are certainly his signature tune, and he's been a massive asset to Treaty this year.
Yeah, when I was speaking to him after the game, Noel, I did put it to him that maybe he thought he might have lowered his expectations in terms of his goals tally from coming back from junior level back into League of Ireland after a year. He said he thought it might take him time to settle in, but to be fair, to be hitting double figures already, it just shows you the value of that, because we saw last year with Treaty, they struggled, obviously, to get anywhere near double figures with any of their players. The goals were probably more stretched, but like Dean George and Enda Kern now have been on form this year. So it just shows you the value of that too for them.
Yeah, that's probably been the difference for them as well. Like, to get 2 players in around 20 goals, I can't remember the last time it's happened for any Limerick team. It's certainly been a good while. And I suppose he's up there with, probably Stephen O'Flynn in terms of his quality and his goal scoring exploits, and the difference he makes to a team and in those tight games. And it was a tight game on Friday night. It was a difficult game, and there wasn't a heap of chances for either team, in fairness. I know Cobh hit the crossbar a minute before half time from a set play. I didn't think Treaty had created a whole lot in the game, and as it drifts towards the last 10 minutes, then you're kind of a little bit worried that a little break had come. And you spoke about the conditions. There was a swirling breeze there as well, and then the rain came, and one slip there in the last few minutes could have cost Treaty the 2 points, because they did only have that goal. I suppose that's probably what's really makes you still think that there could be another twist in this league, because the games are really getting very, very tight and difficult. and you look at both teams' run-ins and they're really difficult. Like, they're playing all the top teams, but then even the match next week, and I know we've been talking about a while, Bray Wanderers have even hit a bit of form, and there's no guarantee that that's going to be an easy night out.
Yeah, it's certainly heading towards squeaky bum time, that's for sure. We finally got a bit of news on Jack Lynch from his father and League of Ireland commentator, LOITV commentator, should I say, Tommy Lynch, who said that there is hope that he will be back in contention to be in the squad at least this year. Noel, Tommy Barrett said that he's the only player he's expecting back. You can see that from the strength of the substitutes bench. There's nearly a full squad now outside of Jack to choose from for Tommy, which, is probably the first time in his tenure at Treaty anyway that's been the case. And when I spoke to Enda Curran, he did speak about how he felt it was the best dressing room he's been involved in since he's been involved in League of Ireland, which I suppose is high praise considering the amount of clubs and different dressing rooms he would have been in. Do you feel, Noel, since maybe a couple of players left and there's been the influx of the new players, that it's been, I don't want to use the term back to basics, but that togetherness that we saw from Treaty a lot last year is certainly right at the forefront now at the moment?
Yeah, it seems, look, in fairness, there's a few things. I think we should praise Tommy for that little tweak in the team as well. I think he swapped Callum McNamara and Mark Walsh. I thought Mark Walsh had a very good game in midfield in a kind of an unsung way. Did a lot of hard work, didn't give the ball away, made him very, very solid. But they are a good group, there's no doubt about it. And they are, the most of the good groups, say, that were around last year as well. And when you put, 22 goals extra, I know Dean George was there last year, but it was a bit stop-start for him. Certainly he seems to be getting better as he gets more experience. And then Enda Curran as well. They certainly didn't take any chances on Friday night. It was a kind of a typical Treaty performance where they sat in nice and tight, looked dangerous from set plays and long throws. And as we said already, just a moment of real quality for the goal. Great cross by Ben O'Riordan and a fantastic finish from Enda Curran.
Yeah, not for the first time, Noel. I'm going to go on to the topic of Willie Armshaw on this podcast. I suppose I noted from the start that you said you would prefer to see Willie Armshaw maybe starting from the right side, which he eventually moved into from the left side of midfield on the wing. Looking at Willie Armshaw, Noel, he's been obviously in and out this season more so than normal, but obviously in the past, there was question marks over his stamina. Tommy hadn't played him a lot. You were wondering, was it something we'd seen that though we don't see in training? Because to be fair, Noel, outside of with the other players in competition, surely Willie Armshaw now at the moment, the fact that he's lasting that 60, 70 minutes, he is a player who, inspires fear in the opposition, and surely he's a starter for the running.
I think, I agree with you. I think he's been quite good in fairness to him since he got that start, where it looked like that it's going to be another season of him just coming on in the last 15 or 20 minutes. He got a start, I think it was against Longford, I think. He was really, really good. And I think, like the games that I've seen, I think he's certainly been a 7 out of 10 at least in most of the games. And I don't see any other wide player kind of outperforming him. Still don't get a whole lot from Stephen Christopher. I think Matt Keane seems to have fallen out of favour, and Joel as well. He's started a few games and come on a few games, but hasn't done a whole lot. And look, in fairness to Willie, I think he's been decent enough. I thought he was decent enough on Friday night as well. And certainly when they do need to play success up front, as we saw below in Turnell's Cross, I think they kind of link up well with very limited possession. Like when you're a bit under the cosh and you need to break out of your defensive shell. I think the two of them are certainly really good options to get you up to the far side of the pitch. So I think it's been a decent season for him, and I'm sure he's happy to be starting more games, even though in terms of his minutes on the pitch last year, his contribution was really big in terms of goals and creating goals. I think he'll be a lot happier with the way things are going this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And another clean sheet last week as well, Noel, can't be scoffed at. In fairness to Treaty, they've been picking up quite a few clean sheets in their recent decent records.
Yeah, they have, and that's settled defence. And I think Mark Walsh back as well has been really important. In fairness to Ben O'Riordan, he's come in from Cobh, and like he's hit the ground running. I suppose he had a little lucky break, even though you don't want to say, with Jack Lynch out of the team. it's given him a chance to have an extended run. And he's certainly probably one of the better right backs that we've got from Cobh recently.
I hope you're not alluding to one that's gone the other way, Noel. But yes, just to speak about the upcoming game that you mentioned maybe briefly earlier on, you've got Bray Wanderers coming Friday night to the Markets Field. I know Treaty United will be hoping that Bray's particularly poor enough record against Treaty at the Markets Field will continue. But you also alluded to the fact that there is a bit of a resurgence from Bray in that, obviously it's been a fairly miserable season both on and off the pitch for Bray during this new, partnership as such with Kevin Teely, the new merger. It's been pretty poor on the pitch and we've had incidents off the field. But they've beaten both Galway away from home and Athlone, who have turned out to be a very sticky side in recent weeks as well, when Dermot Lennon in there. So, as you said, it's certainly with nerves jangling as well towards the end of the season, it's certainly not going to be easy.
Yeah, and just, Cab and Teely were a sticky team as well for Treaty last year, and you have a kind of a wily campaigner in Pat Devlin, and he'll relish this game now, and the impact that it can have. Obviously they'll want to win for themselves as well, but I think I see that Ben Feeney has kind of hit a bit of a goal streak for him. Like, he got a goal above in Galway and 2 against Athlone instantly. One of them was from a long throw, and I see Hugh Douglas is back in, a very experienced player for them as well. He missed most of the season so far with injury, and he's actually had 4 assists lately from corners and throws. So a bit Treaty like in terms of those things, and he'll certainly need a bit of watching on Friday night, and they'll be coming down with nothing to lose. And I suppose the thing about Treaty is, and the way they're setting up now, they are going to give those teams a little chance. We even saw it ourselves with the last maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and it shouldn't have been like that, where Treaty ended up in their own half with Cobh attacking them, despite the fact that Cobh were down to 10 men. And there's always that little risk that, there'll be some kind of a catastrophe, when you're only a goal up, and particularly in this league where someone gets a chance really in the dying moments of the game. And I would be thinking that Treaty would like to have this game put to bed and maybe get a 2-goal lead as early as they can Friday night.
And certainly, and in terms of the team setup, Noel, despite the fact that we said, the performance wasn't brilliant from either side in that game against Cobh last week, would you see any reason for him to change it? I'd probably be tempted to stick with the same team for the game against Bray.
Yeah, I think you'd be thinking that way as well. I would expect maybe Willie Armshaw to start on the right this week. And I think if you want to get at fullbacks, I think fullbacks like playing players who are inclined to cut inside, which what Willie Armshaw was doing for the first 25 minutes of the game, because you're kind of into a crowded area and it doesn't give you a good angle for a cross. And his game certainly improved an awful lot as soon as that switch was made. And I assume, if we do go with the same side, then you certainly see Willie starting on the right hand side.
It's going to be a very interesting run-in, as you alluded to as well, Noel. You just look at the fixtures. I just have them here as well. You have, obviously, Treaty have Bray this week. You have Longford, Galway and Waterford for Treaty before they play Wexford, which is, all teams above you in the league. So they'll be under no illusions as to how tough those games will be, despite the fact they actually have a decent record against Longford, to be fair. I don't think they've conceded against Longford this season yet. But they'll be confident going into that. Then you look at Wexford, they're a similar situation as well, but they have Cork and Galway after the Athlone game. Tommy will be, slightly concerned, I suppose, as well, because he knows that Wexford can do the job against the likes of Cork and Galway from previous games. I know Treaty have had a couple of results, but Wexford have been very good against the teams above them. So he'll still be looking at this week and making it the more important to get that home win against Bray. I think, Noel, that'll be the message from him.
Yeah, I think it will. I don't think they'll be looking beyond this match. And you spoke about Longford, and they've been a bit streaky, Longford, haven't they? At times they've looked really, really terrible. They were terrible against Treaty in the Markets Field. I think they lost at Athlone either before that match or after that match, and then all of a sudden, they pick up and they get a great result in Turner's Cross. I think they beat Waterford below Waterford as well. So they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde. The other thing in the mix probably is, if some, like for example, Cork win the league, before they play Wexford, or if someone is guaranteed the place they're in, And in fairness, the Treaty did a bit of it last year as well. You know, they chopped and changed their team for the last couple of games to give guys a bit of a run out and to rest some guys for the playoff games. So, you know, there's so many odds and ends and angles to this. It's really, really difficult to predict, and it's just probably better off to take it week by week at the moment.
Yeah, I certainly think so. And obviously we hope that the Treaty will pull maybe as close as 9 points away from Wexford at the weekend, but we won't see until the end of Friday night around 10 o'clock. On a final note, Noel, another bright note, it's been a very good week for Treaty, to be fair. The cup draw, extra.ie FEI cup draw, we spoke about the cup draw, but it was before the draw was made on the podcast last week when we were recording. We were maybe hoping for the likes of a UCD and Waterford at home for the chance to get a semi-final appearance. Got UCD at home at the Markets Field. That's going to be on Friday week. It was confirmed today at the Markets Field quarter to 8 kickoff. So, you know, we've got our wish, a great chance, Noel, surely, with UCD at the bottom and fighting for their lives in the Premier, for Treaty to possibly have a televised game and a semi-final. I know we won't want to get ahead of ourselves, but, you know, it will be an exciting couple of weeks.
Oh, I think it will, and we just said it there, isn't it great that there's so much to play for, you know, as you're shoving into the back end of the season. And look, it's a great draw for them, there's no doubt about it. Like, if you wanted to have a gripe about it, there probably won't be a fantastic gate, because UCD aren't going to bring a couple of thousand supporters, that's for sure. But the fact that they'll be so desperate to stay in that Premier League, and depending on how the results go, you know, even this weekend, it's hard to know what UCD or how they'll approach that game. And as you said there, look, if Treaty can put a bit more daylight between themselves and Wexford this weekend, then, you know, it'd be very easy for them to, you know, to have a real cut at that and really, really concentrate on it. And it's certainly a really winnable game for them.